Hi all, a very good morning. So in the part of our yesterday session, we started off with the project in which we completed the first part of our infrastructure design and few components which we have spinned up. So let's look ahead at the next part of our project section and move further. So let me share across the steps as well as the yeah. So in the part of our yesterday session, we looked through at what is the infrastructure design, how, and we created a role in the IAM. Then we created the couple of security groups, one for the web servers and one for the security RDS. And then we created a couple of S3 buckets. And then we created a CloudFront distribution from which one of the bucket would be acting as a source. And then we created a RDS instance for the MySQL DB with multi-AZ. And then we started creating a ELB, that is Elastic Load Balancer. And then we mapped up the Route 53 record set with a load balancer for our domain, which is with the name AWS Training 2017.tk. And looking at the infrastructure design, we have got everything in place apart from the EC2 instances and the auto scaling group. So we are going to first build up the EC2 instance. We are then going to check out if all the configurations are done correctly inside this instance. It is able to connect to the database, and then we are going to take a AMI out of it. Once we have the AMI, that is Amazon Machine Image, we are going to actually go ahead and create a launch configuration and the auto scaling group. So before we can actually proceed to the launch configuration and the auto scaling group, we will have to first completely work out on our EC2 instance to create a AMI. So let's get towards it. Okay, so there we go. I'm quickly logging into my account. Okay, while the login into the Amazon account happens. So the next step that we are going to do is go ahead and launch an EC2 instance, and then we are going to associate it with a role that we have created in the step in the first part, right? In the first part, in the second step, we have created one role which helps me to access the S3 buckets. So that role will be actually associated while I'm going to launch the instance. And in this instance, we are actually going to put across this huge bootstrap script, but I'm going to show you what each and every command is going to do through. So we are not going to put up the bootstrap script first. We are going to launch the instance. and then we are going to execute each and every command manually to see what it does. And when we are going to do it for the second time, that time we'll put it as a bootstrap script, so that it clears up the confusion on what happens at the each step and what does it do. So I'll quickly go ahead and open up the EC2 section. There we go. We have our EC2 section opened up, but currently we're in North Virginia. So I'll just quickly go ahead and make a change here to the Asia Pacific Mumbai. So I'll quickly go ahead and click on launch instance. Now in this, we are going to pick up the Amazon Linux AMI at this moment of time. And then the general purpose T2 micro with one virtual core of CPU and 1 GB of RAM. So here are some changes that we are going to put across the instance configuration. Remember, we have already got our own VPC. So I'm going to make use of that. So I'm going to go down to AWS training VPC, in which I know that 1.0 and 2.0 are the subnets which are a part of internet, or we can say it as a public subnet. So you can go ahead and launch in any one of those. So I'm going to choose 1.0 subnet in this case, and ensure that the auto assign public IP is enabled, so that we will be actually able to log in into this EC2 instance via SSH terminal, and we'll be able to make all the configurational changes. And the IAM role, I'm going to go ahead and pick up the EC2 S3 admin role that we have created yesterday as a part of our first set of project steps. So I'll just go back. Yeah, rest of the things we'll leave it as default and then come down. I'm not going to add the bootstrap script at this point. We are going to add the bootstrap script once we are able to learn what each and every command does here. So I'll quickly go ahead and say add storage. So we are going to make use of the root device with the size of 8 GB, and the volume type is going to be SSD, that is general purpose SSD. And I'm just quickly go ahead and add the tags. I'll say name, my WordPress configuration. So still we are configuring the servers. And then the security group. So yesterday we created on security group, remember, that is web server security group. So I'm going to make use of it, which has got HTTP, HTTPS and SSH ports opened up. Remember, SSH port is only opened up to my IP address, so only I'll be able to log in and make some changes into the server. So I'll quickly go and say review and launch. And I'm going to quickly say launch this using one of the key pair that we already have. So I'm going to make use of the Mumbai key pair in this case, and then say acknowledge that I have this key pair and say launch the instance. So this is going to take a little while for the instance to launch. So I'll go down and say view instances. So we'll wait for the instance to come up in a little while. So there we go. Our server is now up and running. So let's quickly go ahead and log in into this. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up the public IP address of this. Open up my SSH terminal. In the SSH auth, I'll just pass the key pair. And I'll also change the appearance so that the font size is a little better. And I'll quickly go ahead and say open this. So it's going to ask me to verify the key pair, and I'll say yes. And then we're going to quickly go ahead and log in as EC2-user. So there we go. We have successfully been able to log in inside this EC2 instance. Now let's go ahead and find out what we have to do at each and every step. So the first is cpang/bin/bash, which means we are trying to execute the below bash script at a root level, right? So how can we do it here? So I'm just going to elevate my privileges. In that case, that is sudo space so now I am at a root user. And the next command that I'm going to do is update all the security patches for my system. That is going to be using the command yum update -y. So let's go ahead and put it across. So it's going to update all the security patches which are required for this specific EC2 instance. So it's installing all the updates. There we go, it's done. So next is, now I'm planning to install certain number of softwares inside this EC2 instance. So what are all they going to be? One of them is going to be HTTPD, and then the PHP, and then the PHP MySQL, and then the stress application. So I'll let you know why we use the stress application. In order to test the auto scaling in the real time, we are going to make use of the stress application here. And however, PHP and PHP MySQL we are going to use because of the WordPress website. So PHP MySQL is going to help me get connected with the MySQL DB from the backend, and WordPress is completely built on the PHP web pages. So we are going to have the PHP installation to be also done across, and HTTP is going to be my web server. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this specific line here and then put it across. So we are trying to install HTTPD, PHP, PHP MySQL, and then the stress application. There we go. So the second step has also been completed. Now, if you remember from this specific diagram, we want all our media assets and the other things to be media assets, specifically like images, to be delivered from the cloud front, and rest of the things will be anywhere delivered from the EC2 instance itself. Now, if I want to make some changes so that my any request that comes from the web server, that should not be, if there is any media content, if that should not be delivered, right? So how are we going to do it? So there are some configuration changes that we are going to do as and when we proceed through the steps. So the first change we are going to do it is now. So first thing I'm going to do is go down to this specific directory, that is /etc/httpd/conf. So this is the place where the configuration of the HTTPD, that is web server Apache, exists. So let's go and navigate towards this specific directory. So I'll first clear this. Now if I say ls, I have got two files. One is httpd.conf and the other is magic. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take a backup of this file, right? So I'm going to create one more copy of this httpd.conf. So in case something wrong goes, I still be able to get it back from the backup. So I'm going to say cp httpd.conf. I'm going to go ahead and copy this as httpd backup.conf. Right now, if I say ls, I have two files of httpd.conf. One of them is a backup. Now I'm going to make change in the original file. So if I have to make the change, what do? We specifically go ahead and say nano httpd.conf. So I'm going to go inside the file and then make the changes. So let me show you what is the change that I'm going to make through. You have to scroll the page down until you are going to see one specific line. I'll let you know what is that. You have to scroll down almost around 200 lines, and then you will be seeing somewhere this wire www/html, and then you will see slash directory. So still go down a little more. You will be seeing it for the second time, that is where www.html, and then we are going to get our next option. What is the change that we have to make? Okay, so here it is, allow override. So there are two changes that we are going to make in order all the media assets to get delivered from the CloudFront. One is this .htaccess file. We are going to learn about it in our next upcoming labs. And for now, for that htaccess file to work, we have to make this allow override from none. I will make it as an option of all. So let's go ahead and make it. And then Control X, Y, and then enter. So we have successfully saved this file. Now, if you are trying to do the same with the Bootstrap script, how does it happen? So first we are making a copy of the existing httpd.conf file. Then I am removing the httpd.conf file. I am already keeping a updated httpd.conf file in one of the S3 buckets from where I'm going to go ahead and download it. Since we are already inside the server, we are able to easily make the changes using the Nano or a Vim text editor. If you are directly trying to do it from the Bootstrap script, first copy, then remove the original file, and then we are going to download it from the one of the S3 bucket using the wget utility. Right, so I have already kept this file ready here. So that is httpd.conf, which we are going to upload it to S3 bucket when we are going to run the Bootstrap script directly. Now the next step is we are going to go ahead and change to this specific directory, that is var www/html. Now inside this directory, we do not have anything as such at this point of time. So we are going to go ahead and create a couple of things. One is healthy.html, because I already have got the load balancer. It is going to check for this healthy.html file. So I'm going to go ahead and create one healthy.html. There we go. So we are all done with this specific part. Now we will concentrate on the WordPress. So let's go ahead and download the WordPress installation file. So this is the command to get the WordPress installation. So I'm going to say wget, which is a utility to download the things. And this is the place from where I'll be able to get the installation for the WordPress. That is https://wordpress.org/latest/.tar.gz. So it is actually going to download a kind of zip file, we can say, which we call it as .tar.gz in the Linux. Now if I say ls here, you'll be able to see that there's a file with the name latest.tar.gz. Now I have to unzip it. So it is like untar, we call it as. So I'm just going to say tar -xzf and then the latest.tar.gz. So this is the command to unzip it or something, you can say, and then say enter. Now if I say ls, you will be able to see that everything is now unzipped to the WordPress specific folder, right? So let's go inside this WordPress folder and see what is all existing. So these are all the files: index.php, license.txt, readme.html, wp-activate.php, and a lot of PHP files are also existing. Now this index.php file actually needs to be in which folder? It should be a part of www/html, right? That is var www/html, but currently it is. So currently we are inside the var www.html and then the WordPress folder. So actually the index.php file should actually exist somewhere in the this specific path. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to completely copy the contents from the WordPress folder and get them one level back, right? So let's go and do that. The same thing is here what we're going to do. So we have actually used wget utility to download the WordPress, and then we have unzipped it, and now I'm going to go ahead and copy all the contents of my WordPress folder into the var www html. So it's very simple. I'll just say cp -r WordPress/star, which means all the files inside this WordPress folder are going to be copied across to the var www html, and then I have kept the slash so that it will get copied there. Okay, so now I can see that all the things are copied down to the HTML directory. So next step what I'm going to do is, now I do not have any work with this specific file, that is latest.tar.gz, neither this WordPress folder, because we have got all the required contents into the HTML directory, right? So let's go ahead and remove those couple of things from this workspace. Check. So how do we remove it? It's simple: rm -rf command. Rm is to remove and rf is to remove forcibly and recursively. If there are any subfolders or any other files inside this, it will remove it easily. So first I'm going to remove the latest.tar.gz, and then next I'm going to remove rm -rf WordPress directory. So if I say ls now, we are able to see only the files which are required for the original purpose of usage in the project. So same other steps here. So we have first removed the WordPress, and then the latest.tar.gz has been removed. Now last, finally, the 4 steps of our bootstrap script. First thing is, there is something called as wp-content. Let's go ahead and check out. Yes, there is something called as wp-content, which means all the media contents in terms of the images or the videos that we are going to put in our WordPress website, that is actually going to get stored inside this wp-content, right? So in order the media contents get stored inside this appropriately without any problems, what I'm going to do is I'm going to update the permissions. So I'm going to say chmod r755 and then wp-content. So this is going to update the permissions of the read and the write over the wp-content directory. Next, I'm going to go ahead and ensure that the Apache is going to have complete control over the wp-content, so that any person who is trying to store the images on this WordPress website, since the Apache is the web server that we are going to use, so that specific web server should have access towards this wp-content directory. So I'm just going to add the name here. So now apache.apache is the way we go ahead and add it. And finally, I'm going to go ahead and start the Apache service. That is service httpd start, and then ensure that the Apache service is always up and running, right? So we have done with all our configurations. That is to be the part of bootstrap script. So what have we done here? So we are trying to update the security patches. then install the imported softwares like HTTPD, PHP MySQL, and then the stress. And then we went ahead into the HTTPD configuration to check out the httpd.conf file, and then we made some changes into it. Since we were directly inside the EC2 instance, we can make the changes, or else what you can do is specifically we can go ahead and download it from one of our S3 buckets. And then I'm going to go ahead and change the directory to var www/html. The first thing I'm going to do is create a HTML file, that is healthy.html, because my load balancer is going to look for this. And then I'm going to go ahead and get the WordPress installation, and we have unzipped the file that we have received, and then we have copied all the contents from the WordPress folder towards the HTML folder, because HTTPD as Apache as a web server is going to look for all the files within the var www/html. So we have made the changes appropriately, and then we have removed the unnecessary files like WordPress folder and the latest.tar.gz, and then we have helped the wp-content with updating the permissions, and then we have started the Apache service and then ensure that it is always up and running. Now let's go ahead and see if I'm able to access this web server. Yeah, so there we go. It is currently asking me directly to set up the WordPress. So I'm not going to use the IP address to set it up from here. We are going to make use of the AWS training 2017.tk as a domain name to directly log in into this. So how do we do that? So now that we have set up our EC2 instance, we are going to map it to our load balancer, and that load balancer is already mapped to Route 53. So we can directly log in into my domain name, that is AWS training 2017.tk, and then we'll configure our WordPress website. So any questions until here, Rahul and Shiva? Okay, so let's quickly go ahead and add this instance to the load balancer. So I'm going to go down here to the load balancer, which is already up and running. I'm going to click on this WordPress load balancer, click on instances, and I'm going to go ahead and add one of them. So I'll just refresh the screen here. So there we go. Currently it is out of service, so it is going to come in service within few seconds. So in the meantime, I'll just copy the DNS name and see if it is working or not. Let me see if the instance health is fine. Yeah, it is in service, so this should be now working. So there we go. We have now got the WordPress installation being also shown up on the load balancer. But as I said, we are not going to use this link as well. Let's go ahead and try to put it as AWS training 2017.tk and then check out. Yes, it is coming up correctly, right? So it is asking me to open up the it is opening up the WordPress admin panel, and it's asking me to set up the complete configuration. So you guys may also want to give a try to see what the AWS training.2017.tk is showing up. Let me know if it is showing up the admin panel of the WordPress to get started with. right? So if it is being displayed, let me know, then we'll proceed to the next step. Shiva, Rahul, are you guys able to see the content of the admin panel? Yeah. Okay, so I'll quickly go ahead and click on let's go here. So I have to keep these things ready: database name, username, password, database host. So these things, from where I'll get it, we are going to get it from our database section, that is RDS, that we have spinned up yesterday. So let me click on the instances here and get those details. So there we go. I have got a database with the name AWS Project 2018. I'll just go ahead and click on open it. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this endpoint. And remember, this is at port number 3306. So the first is the name of the database is AWS Project 2018. And then the username is also AWS Project 2018. Password is also AWS Project 2018. And in the database host, I'm going to put across the endpoint that we just copied up. And in this endpoint, at the last, I'll just put it as 3306. And then the table prefix is just going to be WP underscore, right? So it is going to store everything with the WordPress underscore, that is WP underscore. So that's fine. And I'm going to go ahead and click on next, submit. So there we go. Now it is just asking me to create one file with the name wp-config.php because it is unable to find that file. Let's see why it is unable to check through. I'll first go ahead and clear the screen and then say ls. So actually there's a file with the name wp-config-sample.php. So we just need wp-config.php file, and that was the reason it was unable to find through. So what I'm going to do is, it says that you can also create a file manually by copying this content and pasting into that specific file. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, Control C, and then I'm going to create a file with the name wp-config.php and then store the entire contents in this, and then just say Control X, Y and enter. So we have now successfully saved the file nano by using the nano command wp-config.php. So if you say ls, you can see that there is a file with the name wp-config.php. Now if everything goes well, like if my RDS is working fine, all my endpoints, user IDs, passwords are being given correctly, my EC2 instance also has got PHP MySQL installation done. So if I click on this run installation, it should be able to connect to my database and should do the installation of the WordPress. Let's go ahead and click on this. So there we go. We have been successfully able to do it, establish the connection. Now let's go ahead and give the name title for this one. So I'll just go ahead and say AWS training. So I'm going to prepare a kind of website where I'm going to post updates about my AWS training or something as such, or maybe you can just give any other title. So I'm just going to keep it as AWS training 2018, and then the username, I'm just going to keep it as simple for now. I'm going to keep it as AWS project 2018, and the password also the AWS project 2018. I do confirm that it's a weak password, and I'm going to put across my email ID and then say install the WordPress. So now the complete installation of the WordPress is going to happen. So there we go. We have been successfully able to install the WordPress. So I'm going to quickly go ahead and log in into this. So currently we are in the admin panel. So I'll just go ahead and click on this. It was 2018. This is basically the admin panel of the website. Now, if you want to see the original website, what's happening with that, just go ahead and say AWS training 2017.tk, and you will be able to see that the WordPress installation has been completely done, and this is how my website is going to appear. So it clearly says that it's all about the training on the AWS. So it says AWS training 2018, just another WordPress website. There's a neat diagram or a on the background, and then it says the post. There's one post called hello world, and it says welcome to the WordPress. This is your first post. Edit or delete it, and then start writing. So let's go ahead and change these things. So I'm going to go down to the admin panel and into the post, where I'm going to make some changes. So I'll click on edit. So I'm going to make this as saying hello all, welcome to AWS Cloud. Here we are going to get the updates on the latest batches on AWS training. Okay, so let's keep it simple and then click on the update here, and let's see how does the page update the changes. So I'll just go ahead and refresh this. So now you can see it clearly says hello all, welcome to AWS Cloud. Then it says here we are going to get the updates on the latest batches on the AWS training. Right, so this is the kind of content that is going to display. Now I can put across anything on this. So I'll go back, I'll try to add some images. So I'll go ahead and click on add new and then say select file. So I'm going to go down to pictures. In this, let's go ahead and pick up some of the pictures. So I'm going to make use of this Ganesha picture. Sometimes it may take a little while for the image to show on your browser here. We'll just check out if the library has got the image or not. Yeah, it has got the image which we tried to upload. Now let's go ahead and add it in the post so that the same reflects onto my web page as well. So I'll click on edit here, and then after this training, I'm going to go ahead and put across the media file from the gallery from this. So I've selected this one and say insert into the post and then say update. So now if someone goes back to the AWS training 2017.tk, they should be able to see or view the image as well, right? So we have been successfully able to create a WordPress server, which is now being accessible from AWS training 2017.tk, and we have also been able to check this nice image that we have put across, right? So let's go back to the steps and see what are the next pointers. So it clearly says at the step 3, we needed to add the instance to the load balancer, which we did. Then we logged into our domain. We configured the complete WordPress website. While configuring, we had one small problem with the wp-config.php. So we created that manually, and then we copied the complete contents from the WordPress website as it directed us to do. And then we were completely able to configure the WordPress website. Now we have just uploaded one of the media images, right? Let's try to see where it actually appears in the EC2 instance. So here, if I say, remember there was some directory called as wp-content. So let's go down and check it out there. So I'll say cd wp-content, and if I say ls, there is something called as uploads. There's again a directory, so I'll just say cd uploads, and inside the uploads, let's see what all is there. So it says there's one directory with the name 2018. I'll go inside that, and then again if I say ls, it says there's one more directory with the name 01. Then if I say ls, now you can see that this is the image that has been actually uploaded, that is dsc06059.jpg, right? Same image was actually uploaded from our WordPress panel, and that is now actually appearing in the wp-content, right? So that is already clear. I'll just clear it and then again come back to my directory, that is var www/html. Okay, so the next step is just we are going to ensure that we do have access to our S3 bucket. So how do we check it? It's very simple. I'll just say AWS S3 and then say ls. So there we go. I'm able to actually access the S3 buckets from here. So we have WordPress website code AWS training 2019, WordPress website media AWS training 2019. So what we are going to do in our part of today's lab here is in the next few steps. Let's say someone has actually deleted your complete WordPress website itself. So how do you recover it back, right? So we have, remember, we have created two buckets. One is for the backup of the code, one is for the backing up media content. So currently I'm going to first show how to back up the complete website. So we are going to copy the entire contents from our HTML folder, because that is a place where my complete website is existing, right? So complete configuration exists here itself. So all these WordPress website related files, directories, we are going to go ahead and put it behind this bucket, that is WordPress website code AWS training 2019. So I'm going to go ahead and copy it. So we all know what is the command. It's very simple, AWS S3 and then say cp. So from where you would like to copy it. So the source is var www/html and then say slash. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and copy it to the S3 bucket, which is with the name and currently what I'm going to do is I'll say here minus minus recursive, so that all the folders, subfolders, and any files inside those subfolders are also going to get copied. So we are going to say it as recursive. So recursively copy everything, and then I'm going to say it as dry run. So first with the dry run, I'm going to see what this command is actually going to do. So whether it's going to throw some error, something as such, we'll come to know easily. Let's go ahead and do it. So when I do the dry run, it's clearly showing that it's going to actually upload all the files from the /html folder towards this S3 bucket. Right. So I'm going to now remove the dry run. So I'll first clear the screen. And run the same command. So by removing the dry run, I'm going to run it so that everything gets copied. So before that, let me show you that we do not have anything in our S3 bucket. So there we go. This is my bucket for the code, and you see currently it is empty. Now I'm going to go ahead and run this command without the dry run, and it is going to copy the entire contents from here to the S3 bucket. So there we go. Everything is done. Let's go ahead and refresh this bucket and see. Yes, I have received all the contents here, and all the complete configuration for the WordPress does exist. Now let's say someone has actually deleted the HTML directory itself, right? So I'll say rm-rf HTML, right? Which means I just have var www, and if I say ls, I do not have something called as HTML directory itself, which means I have completely lost my WordPress server itself. So if someone now goes ahead and finds out AWS training 2017.tk, he'll not be able to find it across because the HTML directory itself is deleted. So someone accidentally deleted the complete code itself. But the good thing is we have actually backed up the complete code in our S3 bucket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to recreate the HTML directory. So that is mkdir and then I'll say HTML. And inside this, I'm going to copy back the entire contents from the S3 bucket. So the command will be again the same, just that the source and destination have changed. Earlier we copied it from our EC2 instance to the S3 bucket. Now from the S3 bucket we are going to copy it to our EC2 instance, and again we are going to do recursively, and first we are going to check out with the dry run what it's going to do. So I'll just go ahead and make use of the same command, just that I'm going to make some changes here. So now the source is S3 bucket. And this is going to copy everything to var www/html and recursively, recursively, and then I'll say minus minus dry run. So there we go. It is showing that everything is going to get downloaded, right? So that's fine. Then we are going to get it completely. So I'm just going to now remove the dry run and then get it done. So if I now say ls, we have the HTML directory. Let's go inside this and then say ls. Now I have got everything which is related to my WordPress configuration, right? So all I have to do is one small thing. Remember, while we were trying to run the Bootstrap script, we have updated the permissions for this wp-content directory. So same things I have to do it back again, because since we have got it from the S3 bucket, the permissions would have now changed. So I'll have to update the permissions. So I'll just do that. There we go. Now again, if I come back to my website and just refresh this, you will be able to see that AWS Training 2017.tk is perfectly working fine without any problem. So we have recovered the website just within few seconds, right? This is because we have actually backed up everything on our S3 bucket and we were able to retrieve it back. So that was the first failover scenario where you have lost the code or someone would have accidentally deleted it. And now if you want to retrieve your website back, all you have to do is just get it directly from the S3 bucket where you have completely backed it up. So that was all about the second part of our AWS project, where we learned how to configure the WordPress and how to get started with our AWS Training 2017.tk, in which we did the setup of our WordPress server. So any questions or doubts here, Shiva and Rahul, from you before we close the session?
No problem. One question, one quick question. So, is it recommended to use stress in real time, or just for a training purpose?
Which one?
Stress application.
No, stress application, we are just going to test it out at the last, just to test, see how the auto scaling is working in real time. So with stress application, I am going to hog the CPU cycles
Yeah,
manually.
that's one. But
So to
it's
just
not recommended to use in real time, right? Just for
no,
training
no.
purpose.
Yes, just for training purpose. You just see that if auto scaling is really working fine or not.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
So thanks all for this. And tomorrow we are going to complete the third part of our project, and mostly the fourth will also be able to complete. Fourth one is very small, nothing much to do. We're just going to set up the auto scaling group and verify the things. But in the third part, we are actually going to learn how to get all the media content redirected from our CloudFront server. So we are going to actually learn about the changes that we have to actually make. That is the .htaccess file that we are going to learn through. So that is where the next part is going to come through. So we are going to learn about the redirection from the cloud front, and then we are going to create our own AMI, and then finally we are going to put it behind the auto scaling group. That is the third and the final part of our project that we are going to look through in the next section. Thanks all. Have a great day, and we'll meet back again tomorrow at 7 in the morning to complete the next part of our project.